So today we are going to discuss about the 8th chapter of Prajnapana Sutra. This chapter is mainly based on the discussion on natural instincts or tendencies or innate instincts, or you can say unlearned instincts. And other term for is primal drives. So these are the different names, but the technical term for all these different names is Sangya. So we know that in Jainism, there is a lot of discussion on 10 types of Sangyas. So what is Sangya? First, we have to understand from Jain perspective that Sangyanam Sangya Abhog Ityartha. It means the Sangyas are those activities which are motivated by some kind of desires or by some strong will, which are innate, which are not learned by someone or from somewhere. Sangyayate anaya ayam jeev iti sangya. The second definition of sangya is that these are the tendencies through which someone is recognized as living entity. So one we can come to know that who is living and who is not living just by looking at these natural instincts, which are found especially in the living organism. So looking at these types of innate tendencies or primal drives or unlearned instincts, we can say that, okay, this is a living entity, and those things which are lacking this kind of tendencies, they are recognized as non-living entity. So we have seen that sangyas are a kind of unlearned instincts, and we would try to know that what it is in true sense or in some detail. So one of the fundamental characteristics, which is very common to all living beings and without any exception, and that is the aim of survival. It means every living being wants to survive at any cost. Every organism achieves it with efficiency, rarely approached in man-made machines. So we know that this kind of aim of survival or intense desire of survival is only found in the living organisms and not in any man-made machines like robots or any other such kind of Alexa or any such devices of artificial intelligence. The apparatus which is perfectly adapted for this purpose is supplied by body making karma and lifespan determining karma. So this kind of a mechanism, or you can say system or tendencies, are developed due to body making karma, which is known as nama karma, and span determining karma, which is known as ayushya karma. So these are the two main karmas which are responsible for creating such kind of tendencies in all the living beings. And they provide suitable reference standards or sangyas for every category of organisms so that they can survive in the environment in which they are taking birth, and they can face all the situations which they are facing remaining in that particular environment. Now we would see that these kind of what we say sangyas are generated in which part of human body. So we know that humans are having brain, and most of the instructions are coming through brain. So in human, the pattern of nerve cells of the hypothalamus of the brain are the physical embodiment of fundamental standards. So these sangyas are taking place, or you can say generating, especially in the hypothalamus. The patterns of human actions are set originally during embryonic development under the control of DNA, which in itself is partly inherited and partly karmic. So in the hypothalamus, we find throughout body, though we find such kind of a DNA in each cell. You can find that DNA. So this DNA has such kind of genes which are having some instructions, and those instructions are partly inherited from the parents and partly what we say organized by the karmic um, residue. So these genes are creating such kind of tendencies or desires in us, or guiding the organism to look for the desirable things which are necessary for his or her survival. These reference standards are the primal drives or unlearned instincts. So you can say that these are the primal drives. They are not learned from somewhere, but they are generated due to the karmas and also the inheritance, which the organism adopts whenever he enters into the womb of his mother. Now we would see that what is the main function of these sangyas. So throughout life, sangyas generate wants and desires, influence hunger and satiety, longings and satisfactions, love and hate, revulsions and fears. So these kind of things or emotional reactions which we find in every organism, whether he is a child, whether he is a young person, or whether he is adult or old person or educated or uneducated, we find that these kind of emotions are going on in every organisms. Or hunger, they are feeling hunger from the very first moment of birth. So all these tendencies which we find in the living beings, they are especially generated by these kind of sangyas in the living entities. So of course, these are not the only or even the main influences, and one does not follow only the hypothalamus. But we cannot say that everything is being governed by these instincts. There are so many other factors which are also affecting human mind, and also some other living beings. But mostly, whatever we are doing from very birth, without learning from anywhere, we are being governed by these natural instincts. In human life, the standards include many further subtleties derived from learning and culture, but all of them are subordinate to a fundamental method of acting that is embodied in the programs of the brain. So we know that there are other factors also which are influencing our life, and we are working or taking any action according to those factors or situations. But somehow these all our tendencies or ways of taking any action or any kind of decision which we are making in particular situations, they all are a kind of subordinate to these fundamental method of acting, which is especially inspired by these instincts. So what are the sangya? In psychology especially, you can find a lot of material which are based on the discussion of these kind of sangyas. And in psychology, there are 14 types of natural instincts which have been recognized by the psychologists. Okay, so what they say about these kind of instincts. So they say that in the early 90s, 19th centuries, you can say, a psychologist proposed that humans were motivated by a variety of instincts, and instincts are natural or inherited tendencies of an organism to make a specific response to certain environment stimuli without involving reason. So it means the sangyas are not having any kind of reason. They are a kind of desires, and they are motivated by some heretical tendencies and or some innate tendencies which have been created especially by the nama karma, and life is one determining karma. So if we say that why I'm feeling hunger, we cannot say any reason, just I feel some hunger or I'm feeling fear. Maybe sometimes there may be some reason for that, and sometimes there is no such reason. But naturally we feel hunger, naturally sometimes we feel fears, naturally sometimes we come into anger. So all these kind of natural tendencies, they are being especially inspired by these sangyas or primal drives. Instincts occur in almost the same way among all members of species. So you can see that all these sangyas or primal drives are found in all organisms without any exceptions, whether he is child, whether he is animal, whether he is human being, or whether he is a very learned person. These 10 types of natural instincts or 14 types of natural instincts are found in all living beings. William James proposed that humans have instincts such as cleanliness, curiosity, parental love, social ability, and sympathy. So we see that all human beings are having such kind of qualities in them. Somebody can have such kind of lifestyle in which he is not looking so much clean, but instead of that, he is also fond of cleanliness. He wants that cleanliness must be everywhere and in everything. So these are the natural tendencies which are found commonly in all the living beings. So now we would see that what are those natural instincts which are found in all the living beings. Some may be dominated in some living beings and some other may be dominated in some other living beings. But more or less, all the living beings are having these 10 types of natural tendencies. The first is aha, desire of food. So every living being, as soon as he takes birth, he starts looking for some food. So, or whenever he feels or she feels or any living being feels hunger, then they look for food. So they are not taught from very first moment of their birth that what is food and why they need this kind of thing, and what they have to eat and what they should not eat. But they have their own natural selection that what food they are looking for, or what food is good for their body to survive in that particular form of life or in particular situation. So they themselves select. So this is natural selection which is done by all the living beings, and this natural selection is being done due to this particular first instinct which is known as ahar sangya. Second is bhai, fear. So fear is also a natural tendency. So whenever we find any kind of threats to our life, we feel some kind of fear in us, and we know that this is something very much threatening to our own existence, or it may be very harmful for us, and automatically fear appears in us. So fear is also a natural tendency. Nobody has taught us that how we should react or how we should feel some kind of fear in us, but it is already known to all of us. Third is sexual desire. So methun. So sexual desire is also very common in among all the living beings, whether they are in animals, whether they are humans, whether they are deities, or see the hellish beings. So this sexual desire is very common to all the living beings. It is not taught by anyone. Parigraha possessiveness. So we see that possessive tendency is also found in all the living beings, whether it is ant or whether it is animals, other animals. They also try to accumulate the things or the food which is required for them, so, or whatever shelter they are looking for. So for that, what material is good, they bring that kind of material from the environment and try to make their nest or such kind of habitat where they can live peacefully or safe. So possessive tendency is also found commonly in all the living beings. Anger is also very common to all the living beings. Child is not taught how to anger, but he knows how to be angry. So whenever something is not given to him, which he is looking for, he at once becomes angry. So anger is very common, very known to all the living beings. Similarly, ego, deceit, greed, all these tendencies are very common among all the living beings. Log, general tendency. We know that we are living in human societies, and we have some customs, some social, what we say, activities, and what kind of activities we have to do, and what can be the right way to perform that activity, we learn from other humans in the remaining in the society. So this is the general tendency. We know that how to marry. So the marriage system or marriage ceremony is learned from the particular society in which we are living. So this is a general tendency which we follow, that how other human beings are doing, we have to do in the same way. So there are certain things which we follow from the convention or from the society. And next is og, to do something without thinking. Sometimes we act, but without any without paying attention that what we are doing actually. It is seen that some people are sit somewhere, they start scratching their skin. Sometimes some people start cutting their nails by their own hands. So, or some people start scratching some particular part of their body. So they don't know that they are doing such kind of things. So this kind of habits, or you can say tendencies, are also seen in some of the people who are doing those things without knowing or without being conscious or attentive to those activities or those actions which they are doing. So this kind of tendency is also found among the living beings, that they are performing some act without knowing, without thinking, without planning, just because of their own habits. So now we would see that there are two types of causes, internal and external causes of each of the sangha. So we here we see that desire of food. So why we are feeling hunger, why we are looking for food, why we need food. So it is because rising of hunger producing karma. This hunger is being produced by hunger producing karma. There is certain type of karma which is creating hunger in our body. Thinking of food. Sometimes whenever we start thinking about some food items, automatically we feel that, oh, I have to eat that one. So this thinking also produces the desire of food in us. Empty stomach, whenever we feel that my stomach is empty, then I think that I have to take something to get some energy. And empty stomach also inspires us or creates desire of food. Looking at eatable items, so this is also one of the cause of desire of food. And that is that whenever we see something which is eatable, we start taking that thing. So these are the main four causes which create hunger in the living beings. Next is fear. Fear is also very common tendency of all the living beings, and this is also produced by feeling producing karma. And that is a kind of no kashai. According to Jain philosophy, there are 9 types of kashayas, no kashayas, which are not completely kashai in the sense, but they are supportive of main kashayas, which are anger, ego, deceit, and greed. So they are supportive. Fear is supportive, or you can say subordinate to the main kashaya, 4 kashayas. So fear is produced by mohani karma, and sometimes whenever we start thinking about something which is very fearful, then also we feel some kind of fear in us, or because of impatience we become fearful. and looking at fearful things, or looking at some things which are fearful, and we start feeling fear in us. So fear is also very common, and these are the four main causes which are creating fear in us. Next is sexual desire. This sexual desire is also very common to all the living beings, and this sexual desire is also caused by some karmas, and that karma is also a kind of mohani karma. So there are three types of ved which are mentioned, and among the 9 no kashayas, stri ved, purush ved, and napunsak ved. So it means in in female, male, and neuter, all the three types of living beings feel this sexual desire in them. So this is very common to all the living beings. Whenever somebody looks at if female or male, then he or she may feel such kind of feeling in him or her, because of increase of flesh and bones. So this is a very important thing which we have to note down, that whenever we feel any kind of flesh or bones, if our flesh is extra and bones are more strong, sometimes we also feel such kind of a tendency because of the increase of flesh and bones. And this is the reason the Jain monks and nuns are said to walk on barefoot continuously, and they are not supposed to sit at one place for longer period, or take the delicious food every day, so that they should not feel such kind of sexual desires in them. Looking at female and male, so we have this is only repeated by mistake. Oh yeah, thinking of female and male, so that may also cause in to generate this sexual desire in us, or looking at female and male, then also we can get such kind of feelings in us. Possessiveness, so this is also very common tendency among of all living beings, and due to that we always try to accumulate the things. We are very much fond of collections of things, whether it is money, resources, anything we want to possess. So rising of greed producing karma. So this is the main kashaya or patient, you can say, which is greed. And because of the greed, we are always looking for accumulation of things or money, etc., and thinking of possessive things. So whenever we start thinking of accumulating something, or want to own something or possess something, then also we look for possession. And poverty, sometimes the people are under poverty or in very much poverty, so they always think about how they can get what they need. And seeing possessive things, so looking at the things which are very attractive. So whenever we go to mall and see so many attractive things there, and we, though we don't need, but because of those things which are very much attractive, and if we are getting on some cheaper cost, we try to possess those things or collect those things. So this possessiveness is also very common tendency of all the living beings. So these are the four among the 10. These four are very, very common to all living beings, whether he is micro, whether he is very developed human being, very learned person, but you will find these four tendencies which are very common. Now we would see that these 10 types of tendencies or primal drives which are found in the living beings, but they all are not manifesting in each of the living beings. There are certain living beings who are having some tendencies which are very much dominating in them, and there may be some other living beings who are having some other types of tendencies which are dominating in them. So it is not necessary that all the 10 types of tendencies should dominate or should manifest themselves in their fullest or active form in the living beings. So what is the concept of domination of the instincts in the living beings in the Prajnapana Sutra? So though all the 10 types of natural instincts are found in all the worldly living beings, yet some of them dominate in some living beings and some in other living beings. For example, fear and anger dominate in hellish beings. So hellish beings are having 10 types of instincts. In spite of that, fear and anger are more dominating in them instead of other tendencies. Similarly, desire for food and deceit dominate in subhumans, or you can say non-humans. Okay, so you would see that the non-human beings are always looking for some food, for some eatable items, and they are also having the tendency of deceit. So you have, if you have noticed, some birds or kids who are looking for mouse, and if it is passing nearby, then kid becomes so attentive and so meditative that so that the mouse should not get the impression that the kid is looking at her or at him, and the kid becomes able to catch the mouse. So deceit is also very common among the non-humans. Sexual desire and ego dominates in humans. So we know very well about ourselves that what kind of tendencies we are having. So ego is very dominating in human beings, and also the sexual desires. Possessiveness and greed dominate in the celestial beings. So the celestial beings are very much fond of possessiveness and also greed. So these are the main things which we have discussed about the sangyas. If somebody has any questions, they can ask first me. Otherwise, we can discuss the second chapter. So let me know if somebody has any question. Okay, so I'm unmuting first. Okay, so now I think if somebody has question, they can unmute themselves.
Vandami, can I ask
Yes, you can.
one question? You said that so this is partly these instincts are partly inherited and partly due to the karmic causes.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a proportion, like in most of them, is it more karmic or more inherited, or it varies? It depends on the on individual's karmic load.
Okay, so most of them are what we say caused by karmic matter. For example, all types of patience and hunger, etc. But yes, what kind of food you like or what kind of food I like, all these depend on our bringing up, in which family we are born. So what kind of food we have taken from very birth. So that is our selection, which depends on our taste of the particular family. So there is some, you can say some modifications can be done by the heritage or by the hereditary or by the environment. But most of the fundamental things are coming due to the karmas.
Okay, thank you. So then we can even change some of this,
Yes.
Or suppress the karmic causes.
Yes, we can do, because these are the primal drives. You can control or you can change or modify. It is all in your hands.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other?
I want to know that all the living beings have organ lok shakti,
Yes.
even all the four realms.
Yes.
Okay.
See, what we say, animals, ships, no? They, if
Mm-hmm.
one ship is coming out of some place, the others will automatically follow him. Okay, or
Mm-hmm.
is it? Similarly, the creepers, the creepers have tendency to climb on the tree. So all the creepers, you would see that they are having the same kind of tendency, is it? So this kind is little bit such kind of tendencies you can find among all the living beings, depending on their situations or their form of life, what kind of tendency they may have very common. Is it? Anything? Nothing. So should we continue or we have to stop here? Only so we have little bit time. I'm now discussing the next chapter, which is based on uh, birthplaces. So what kind of birthplaces are there where all different types of living beings are taking birth, and what is the nature of those birthplaces? So that is also an interesting topic of our discussion. So now I'm sharing the next one. Okay. So now you can see here that the 9th chapter is especially based on the discussion on birthplaces, or you can say structures or receptacles in the language of modern science. The technical term for the birthplaces is yoni. So what is yoni? So here we can see that the Sanskrit word is given. Yu means mishrane, it means mixing, and yoni means utpatti sthanam, means birthplaces. So this is the just literal meaning of the word, but the implied meaning is that yoni means the birthplace in which bioelectrical body and the karmic body mix with the matter of gross physical body. Or protein body or communication body. So yoni is the place where our karmic and thesis body interact with the matter which is required for formation of this physical body. So the physical body may be in the form of our gross body, like our physical body, or it may be the physical body of some deities, which is known as Vikriya body, or it may be the body of Aharak Sharir, which is especially used by the yogis to communicate with the omniscient. Now, yoni indicates towards the temperature, structure, environment, and supporting materials required for a living being to create a new body in a new birth. So, yoni doesn't mean just that somebody is taking birth from some parents, but yoni is a very wider term. It indicates the conducive place where living beings are taking birth. So that place may be the parents, that place may be some other some environment which is very conducive for taking birth. So it is indicating the temperature also, it is indicating the structure also, it is indicating environment and supporting materials which are required for taking birth or for making a particular body which is required in particular form of life. So depending on the quality of birthplaces, the living beings can broadly be categorized in 84,000 types. So according to all Indian traditions, whether it is Jain tradition or Buddhist or Hindu tradition, all believe unanimously that there are 84,000 types of birthplaces where the living beings are taking birth. Though in one birthplace, many species may take birth. For example, mud is a birthplace in which mosquitoes, earthworms, and many other types of species can take birth. Thus, there are 1,097,50,000 species which take birth in these 84,000 types of birthplaces. So it is clear that in one birthplace there may be many types of living beings who are taking birth. So they may be very different from each other. So they may belong to different family or species, you can say, but they all are taking birth in at one place. So the yoni is one, but the families or species may be very different or many. And in total, according to Jain scriptures, there are 1,097,50,000 species or families, you can say, who are taking birth. Now we would see that birthplaces, minimum there are second time minimum has come. Okay, so minimum there are 9 and maximum 84,000 types of birthplaces. So all the 84,000 types of birthplaces can be reduced to 9 categories. So what are those 9 categories? So one is called Shita Yoni. Shita Yoni means cold places where the living beings are taking birth. So we know that when there is some cold, if weather is cold, then certain types of living beings are taking birth in that particular weather. So Shita Yoni, so the cold places of first 4 hells. Especially, you can see that there are 7 types of hells. Among the first 4 hells, you will find the environment which is very, very cold. And second is Ushna Yoni. So in hot weather also, we find some kind of living beings who are taking birth, especially in that particular weather, because they need a hot environment, hot weather to take birth. So such kind of living beings are known as Ushnayonic living beings. So they are taking birth especially in the hot places, and you can find this kind of environment among in the last 4 hells. So it means that the 4th hell is having both types of environment, cold and hot. So that's why it is also included among the hot ones. Next is Sitoshna Yoni, so neither cold nor hot or normal temperature. So the birthplaces of gods and goddesses and sexual subhumans or non-humans and humans, and they are recognized as a Sitoshna Yoni. Means that they are not taking birth in very much cold environment or very much hot environment, but they are taking birth in a balanced environment. Except fire-bodied living beings, all the asexual, non-humans, and humans are born in all the 3 birthplaces. The fire-bodied living beings are born only in hot birthplaces. So now we know that fire in itself is a hot element. So it cannot be it cannot be there where there is a very cold environment, or you can say in such places where there is water. So fire-bodied living beings are always taking birth in hot places, and all the asexual non-humans and humans, they are taking birth in all 3 types of places. And okay, so this is what. Now we would see that birthplaces. So there are 3 types of birthplaces, which are known as Sachitta Yoni, Achitta Yoni, and Mishra Yoni. Again, you can say that all these 3 types of yonis, they are of the nature, they are indicating that the birthplace in which the living being is taking birth, it may be some of living nature or non-living nature or mixed nature. So here you can see that Sachitta Yoni, it means some living places. Whenever somebody is taking birth from parents, the parents are living human beings or living beings. So that's why, and the birthplace of that particular child is Sachitta. It means living. Achitta Yoni is non-living birthplaces. So the birthplace which is completely bereft of a living being. For example, the birthplaces of the hellish beings and gods and goddesses. We know that hellish beings are taking birth in a feature-like structure. They are not taking birth from any parents. Similarly, gods and goddesses are not taking birth from any parents. They are born in particular place, which is like the bed, and they are at once becoming of 32 years young person. So they look like that. But their birthplaces are not having any kind of life. They are non-living places where they are taking birth. Mishra Yoni, so living and non-living or mixed places. So the birthplace which is both living and non-living, for example, the sexual subhumans and humans require ovum and sperm to create a new body. So one of them is connected to living body and other one is non-living. So it means whenever child comes in the womb of mother, so mother is living and whatever it is ovum which is taken by the child from mother, and suppose the other element is coming from father, so that is considered as non-living. So in this way it is said that the child is taking birth with the support of living and non-living both types of elements. Asexual subhumans and humans are born in any of the three birthplaces. So we have already seen that. Now there are other three types of birthplaces, which shows that what kind of a structure those birthplaces are having. So it is said that Samvrit Yoni, Samvrit means covered places. Some living beings are taking birth in covered places and not in open places. So the birthplace which is covered, for example, hellish beings, gods and goddesses, and all the five immobile living beings take birth in the covered places. So they are always taking birth in the covered places. The seed is shown in the earth and it is covered, and they sprouts from within. So they need covered environment to take birth. Vivrit T is left here. So Vivrit Yoni, it means the birthplace which is open, uncovered. 2 to 4 sense living beings and asexual 5 sense to non-humans and humans take birth in open places. So they can generate in an open environment. They don't need such kind of covered places. Next is Samvrit and Vivrit Yoni. So half covered and half open places. So the birthplace which is both covered and uncovered. For example, the sexual non-humans and humans take birth from the wombs of their mothers, which is covered as well as perceptible through instruments. Okay, so this is what they have said. Now we would see that there are maximum 84,000 types of birthplaces. Number is exceeding. Okay, so I will correct it. So 84,000 types of 84,000, not 84 hundred millions, thousands, sorry, birthplaces. So we can see here that living beings, for example, earth, water, fire, and air. So they are of 700,000 in number. So the birthplaces especially are 700,000. Now we can see single soul vegetables, which we know as Pratik Shariri Vanaspati. So they are found 10,000, 100,000 in total number. Next is infinite soul vegetables, means we say Sadharan Shariri Vanaspati. So they are found 1400,000 in number. 2 sense living beings, they are 200,000 in number. 3 sense living beings, they are also 200,000 in number. And 4 sense living beings, the birthplaces of these 4 sense living beings are also 200,000 in number. And hellish beings are having birthplaces which are 400,000 in number. Gods and goddesses are also having equal number of the birthplaces, and 5 sense non-humans are having equal number of birthplaces, and humans are having 400,000 birthplaces. So multiplying the original number of particular types of living beings by 5 types of color, 2 types of smell, 5 types of taste, 8 types of touch, and 5 types of shapes, we get the above figures. So this is the way of what to say, making counting, that how these numbers are found. So we know that humans are having all the 4 types of 5 types of colors, 2 types of smells, 5 types of taste, and 5 types of 8 types of touch qualities. So depending on these 20 types of qualities, if you will multiply these numbers with the original one, which is 350, then you will get the number which is 700,000, especially for the earth, water, fire, and air living beings. So this is the mathematical what we say way of counting these number of birthplaces. When it is multiplied by 5 types of color, 2 types of smell, 5 types of yeah. So we have already discussed about it. It is just repeated. Now we would see that especially it is said that the women who are also places for some living beings, for child, they may have different type of structure of their place. Now I would say that here there are 20 types of dandakas. They are taking birth in different birthplaces. So what are those birthplaces, and what is their and what is the environment of those birthplaces, what kind of a structure that they are having? So these all have been discussed here in short in a chart. So you can see that there are 7 types of hellish beings. They are taking birth either in cold places or hot places, and their birthplaces are always non-living. They are not coming out of some living entities, and they are always covered. All the gods and goddesses, they are taking birth in a balanced environment. It means it is hot and cold both, and not just hot or cold. And they are also taking birth in non-living places, and those places are also covered. 4 types of one-sense living beings, especially except the fire-bodied living beings, and they are taking birth in all the 3 types of environment. They may take birth from all 3 types of entities, living, non-living, and a mixed one, and their birthplaces are always covered. Fire-bodied living beings, they are always taking birth in hot places, and they are having all the 3 types of sources from which they can come or they can take birth. And some rate means that they are also covered, but yeah, it is sometimes the Ushna Teukai, it should not be some rate, but why it is so, I have to find out the reason. Now, 3 types of living beings who are having 2 senses, 3 senses, or 5 senses, and they all are taking birth in all the 3 types of environment, all the 3 types of elements, or their birthplaces are always open. Asangi Panchendri, so Asangi Panchendri, it means those 5 sense living beings who are not having mental development, they are taking birth in all the three types of places, which are hot, cold, and hot, cold. And from all the three types of entities, Chitta and Mishra, it means living, non-living, and mixed one. And they are always taking birth in the places which are open. And now we would see that five sense living beings who are non-humans and humans but having mental development, they are mostly taking birth in Sitoshna. It means in the balanced environment. And their birthplace is also mixed one, and also have covered and uncovered both. So here it is just some calculation is made in comparison to each other, that what kind of living beings are more or less. So you can see here that those living beings who are taking birth from some living sources, they are four types, four Anantaguna. Okay, so and they are more in number, you can see, and they are taking birth mostly in cold environment. They are Anantaguna, four types of, here it means that there are four skills which have been used to show the comparison. And Samrit, it means that they are always taking birth in covered places, and their number is also Anantaguna. You can say as those living beings who are taking birth from non-living sources, uh, for them two skills of Sankhya is applied and are applied. So they are what we can say that they are innumerable, innumerable more in comparison to other living beings. And those who are taking birth, they are taking birth especially in the hot environment. They are Asankhyaat Guna. Okay, those who are taking in hot places, they are two times more in from innumerable point of view. And Vivrit, they are taking birth in open places, and also Asankhyaat Guna. And next mixed one, they are very less in comparison to all other living beings. And those Mishra one, they are taking birth, of course, in both the types of places, sheath and cold. Their birthplaces is mixed one. It means it is little bit hot and little bit cold, and they are very less in comparison to other living beings. They are their birthplaces is of both types, covered and uncovered, and they are really less in that number. Ionic, three Anantaguna, Ionic Anantaguna or Ionic. Okay, so this one is not clear to me. Okay, so with this, I have completed this 9th chapter, in which the author has discussed about the various types of birthplaces, their structure, their environment, and what kind of living beings are taking especially birth in what kind of birthplaces. So that has been discussed in the 9th chapter. If somebody has any question, they can ask. So nobody has any question?
वंदना
Yes.
वंदना, I want to know 14 लाख मनुष्य की जाति. What do you mean by this मनुष्य की जाति? मतलब humans are equal. Then what is, how we can classify 14,000 मनुष्य की जाति? Jati, what do you mean by jati, and how it comes 14,000?
Okay, so it is
14 lakhs.
that human beings are in what we say in a main number are 750 types almost. And if you multiply with 5 types of colors,
No, what is main number? 750. What is 750? I don't understand.
That is not very much clear to me. I have to ask it from someone.
Okay. Okay.
But yes,
Okay.
it is given in the text by Muni Sumermalji that 750 is the original number, and when you multiply
Mm.
with 5 colors to taste 8 types of touch, and 5
Mm.
types of body structures,
Mm.
6 types of bone structure like that, so you will find this number. So that is
Okay.
their way of explaining. But what are those 750 original number or original human beings? That is not said. And I say that what I could understand is that all the human beings either having some kind of body colors or structure, etc., etc. But when we go to the original number and or you can say original categories, then we will find 750 types of human beings. Then we can multiply with these all these physical qualities which they are having.
Okay.
Okay, so we cannot
Okay.
show those original number or those original humans who are being added
Mm.
this color or that color, is it?
Yeah, actually, in
Yes.
generally, we have only two types of human beings: Sangi Manushya, Asangi Manushya. But how come somebody asked me, how come this 14 lakhs of Manushya Jati came? So I asked you.
Okay,
I
yes.
was also not able to answer it.
Yes, I was also searching for the answer, but
Okay.
now I could come to know that we cannot show the human beings without having any color or smell or bone
Mm.
structure or body structure, is it? So we cannot
Mm-hmm.
find this number. This is imaginary. You can say imaginary in the sense that you can just think of that this much would be the main number, and then you can multiply with these qualities.
Yeah, actually, they need the logical definition, clarification, explanation of 14 lakhs, actually. All the like logical way they were asking.
Yeah, just we can say this is the mathematical way of explaining 1400,000 human beings. Okay, but we cannot show the original humans in this way, in the sense that
Mm.
they are the original ones who are not having any color. If you add this color,
Mm.
then they will be like this. Okay, in this number.
Mm.
So
Okay, Vandana.
those original numbers cannot be shown. It can be just an image.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Nani, adding this conversation, people are asking
Hmm.
how that number will be the same on that period of time up to this period of time. So I couldn't explain anything for particular that question.
Okay. So see, when scriptures talk about anything, they are not talking of particular time, okay, or in particular space or country or land, okay. They are talking about the general,
Okay.
keeping all the 3 times in view and all the places, human spheres. Okay. So it may be in past, in future, but whenever it is, but this is the maximum number which we find.
Okay.
Is it?
So number will remain the same, but
Yes.
it varies from.
Yes, there may be some time when you don't find all the what we say 1400,000 people at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the what we say these are the different types of human beings which
Yeah.
you can find in some time or in some places, but not all the times or at all the places. Is it?
I said to them, I'll ask and then I'll come back to.
Yes, yes, yes. The thinkers are keeping all the 3 times in view whenever they are talking about anything. Okay.
Okay.
And they are including all different categories, all different types, all the different spaces, all different places. So they are having so much wider horizon of their knowledge. And
So, just imagine.
yes. Any other? So today we have finished almost 2 chapters. So in this particular course or semester, we would cover almost 16 chapters, means half of the text. so that you can grasp each and everything. If you will hurry up and try to cover whole text, then you will not get anything out of it. So there would be two levels, of level 1 and level 2. So in level 1, we are covering almost 16 chapters. And in the level 2, we will cover the rest of the chapters. And in this way, we will complete our full text. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we are leaving.
Thank you.
Thank